where Spain, where Canada test themselves against mighty Spain. Yes. The shot, it's decent, it's a fine save from Sheridan. Makes her own pass, and this is possibilities here. And the ball is in the back of the net. Inside the fullback again. They're queuing up. And there's the equaliser. It's all over. It finishes all square.
Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome inside our One Soccer studio. Matchday live. Andy Petrillo alongside Jordan Wilson. The Canadian women are in action. They're holding their final camp of the year in Murcia, Spain. They're playing their final two games of 2024, Jordan. A year that they would like to turn the page on. There is still a lot that needs to be done, changes off the pitch, but on the pitch it's pretty simple. Win. And that's what they're going to try to do in these final two games. First up, it is Iceland today. Canada ranked 6th and Iceland ranked 13th. Let's bring in the other member of our studio crew. That is former national team player, Hall of Famer, Amy Walsh. And Amy, let's just dive right into it with, once again, a lot of the chatter around this team that's happening off the pitch. Dare I say the dark cloud. How does a team move forward, get prepared for these types of games when, once again, there's a lot of talk that's happening that they don't really have any control over?
I think they keep forging ahead the way that they have done. You know, that's what they had to do in the Olympics. And now it's lifted a little bit because it's not looming over them the same way that it did when they were trying to navigate that Olympic play. But they do it on their own terms. Like Cindy Tai is in, she has ties to this team. She has ties with the youth as the U20 national team coach. She's there much like the way Andy Spence was, to guide them, to support them. But this is very much going to be driven by the leadership that's in there, the veterans who are in, and hoping to pull some exciting performances out of the youth. But above all, I think results. And again, it's on their terms. So it's very much how this team is going to play and how they're going to dictate the end of 2024, which they controlled with their resiliency on the pitch.
I couldn't agree more, Amy. And I think as a kid as well, you're just always taught control what you can. Like, you can't control the weather, you can't control sometimes referees or coaches. You can control your preparation, you can control your product. And you see that with this team. They've been doing that. They just need to continue to do so.
Well, Amy, you said it. Andy Spence had taken over on an interim basis. He's not available this window. So Cindy Tai, who does coach the U20 and also at the University of Dalhousie, will be taking over for these two games. She has said this is just an experience. She is not putting her name in the hat to be the future coach. It's been made official by Canada Soccer. Bev Priestman will not be returning. So it's all about finding that next head coach. We had Gabby Carl on One Nation earlier this week, and you asked her, you said, if you're just going to look at some characteristics or just your opinion on what you want to see in a new head coach, this is what Gabby Carl had to say.
We're all looking for a fresh start. So for us, I think it's all exciting. We're given a little bit of input. We're allowed to, well, not input, but we're allowed to let Kevin know what we're looking to in a head coach. So that's exciting to have like a little bit of a voice. But really, I think it's there is turmoil at all of this. It's all stressful, but it's also a very exciting time to get that fresh start. What's really important is a coach that is for the players, someone that just, what the most important thing for them is the players that they have and how they can work together. Obviously, just in terms of soccer, you want someone that has a high soccer IQ and that brings something interesting, and a good person as well, just a good human.
Hearing a lot of fresh start there. And of course, when she says Kevin, referring to General Secretary Kevin Blue. So it sounds like, Amy, he is talking to the players and just trying to get their opinion here as they move forward in this head coach search. What do you want to see in a new manager?
I think doing that, where he's leaning on the players, getting their input, hopefully leaning on other people who are in the game to understand what's needed for this group. But I think it's important to underline that it was never the players who brought this program into disrepute. It was the unethical decision-making from Bev Priestman, Eyal as the coaching staff. So I think candidates looking at this women's national team program are just chomping at the bit to be involved. And that's credit to the players, and that's credit to the talent pool that we have in this country. I remember when Evan Pellerud came into the women's national team program in 2000 after Neil Turnbull had been at the helm for the '99 World Cup and a couple of years prior to that. we were asked to not help select Evan Pellerud, but to help select his assistant coaches. And that is very much a big part of that as well. So this characteristics that you're looking for, it's fresh eyes, a fresh voice, somebody who's going to be able to challenge, I think, the status quo within this roster. I don't think that they need a tremendous amount of a shakeup, but I think you need competition within that roster. So it's not a given that everybody's name is penciled in to every single window. I think that would do a lot of good to kind of push these players to the limits of their comfort zone and then bring players and humans and staff in who are good people, who are going to meet them and see them eye to eye in their values and who they are as people and be high character individuals.
On one hand, you have maybe someone who was a former national team player to come in that knows what these players are going through. And on the other hand, there are people that are saying clean slate and bring someone that can have fresh new ideas. I think at the end of the day, the commonality that needs to be basically meshed between the two is just someone that is a good human being, could get the most out of a group, and isn't about the nonsense. I think you just see a little bit too much filth, and you want to get back to the players playing on the pitch and progressing. It's not even about the players that you have now, it's the players coming up as well through the game. You want to see someone that gets the most out of that group and players to come.
Yeah, I know we had that conversation on One Nation, is like, do you bring somebody who's been a part of this and kind of understands the ins and outs of Canada soccer, or do you bring someone who has not been part of it, like Jesse Marsh? He really hasn't been part of it, right, and kind of brings a little bit more of a fresh perspective, and quite frankly, isn't jaded by things, right? So that I think becomes, one of the questions you have to ask on who it is that you want to bring on in. Who's not here? Speaking of bringing on in, well, they didn't bring these players, and it's because of injury. So there are a lot of players missing in action here for this window. Kadisha Buchanan Kadisha Buchanan and Chloe Lacasse are dealing with ACL injuries. So that's a really big blow. Jade Rose, we know, is injured. Sydney Collins, unfortunately, just before the Olympics, we know, once again, fractured her leg. Quinn is not here, and Jordan Heidema for personal reasons. These are some big names. These are some starters that are not here. But it does give Cindy Tai the opportunity, once again, whether the hand is forced, so this was going to be the plan all along, to get young players into this lineup or to get fresh faces into the lineup. Once again, we're going to see, Zadorsky by no means is a new player, but getting in the start. Aladou, this is somebody we can focus on shortly. Simia Wujo's been making a name for herself, and you can see all those other new names on the bench, which I know Cindy Tai has wanted to get in. But here's the other thing, if we're going to talk about players who are not starting but have been called in. Olivia Smith, not in that starting 11. I don't know how you feel about that, Amy. She's with Liverpool. She was named, Player of the Month and back-to-back months, September, October, voted on by the fans. She's hit the ground running there. Are you a little bit shocked to see that she's not in the starting 11?
I am, but I think that's due to the fact that we're going to see somebody in the middle of the park that we've been aching to see in Ali Hu and Ali Du. So I think it came down to the fact that it was one or the other. But I am surprised because I think what's been lacking in this program is going with players not who have like a long-standing deal or loyalty piece present with the coach, but who is in form. And is there anybody who is more in form than Olivia Smith? As you mentioned it, Andy, back-to-back Player of the Month awards. So this team starved for goals always. I think you hit the ground running with an Olivia Smith. So a surprise to me that you kind of have players who are long established with this program, and Smith stays on the bench.
My quick tag on Smith, what I'll say, is just playing for Liverpool and seeing her progress that she's done there. They play a 3-5-2, and she's one of the two up top. Maybe today it's like you want to see a Becky and Leon, who are more atypical wingers, and maybe you want her for the second half to close. And maybe you think that when you play South Korea that she's going to be a player that starts that match. But sometimes you see that with players, the system maybe dictates whether you're going to start them. Maybe that's what Cindy Tai was thinking today. Well,
on the flip side, though, you're right here, Amy. Let's focus on Marie Yasmin Aladou, because that gives her a chance, affectionately known as Mimi. This is a 29-year-old, so not young, but new in the sense that this past year in 2024, the times that she got called in with the team, it was because there was an injury to somebody else. So they brought her on in. She made the most of it in their last friendly against Spain. She did score the goal. That was her first international goal in her third appearance. What kind of opportunity is this for her?
This is huge. This is her, only had 3 caps, even though her first tournament with the country was the beginning of 2022 at the Arnold Clark Cup. So somebody who's overlooked, somebody who's never been given full credit for what she's done and the various the winding pathway that she's taken in the women's professional game. So this is hers right now to go out and grab, because I think she is a player that this program has been starved of, somebody who can really drive the attack for them. So excited to see what she can do kind of as soon as the game starts.
And when you think about players that get sacrificed because of a system, I think Mimi really fits that role. She epitomizes that because Bev Priestman has played a two-person midfield and someone to accompany Jessie Fleming. So was that Simia Wujo, was that Grosso, it was Quinn, all these players ahead of Mimi. But now I think today with the three in the midfield really gives her an opportunity to go and shine. What I would say, even though she can't hear me, it's just like bit by bit. You don't have to do everything at once. Take time to grow into the game. But I love this player. I think she has a high ceiling, and she just needs that moment to really show her quality.
Well, when I was hearing, reading up a little bit more on her story, right away I started to think of Moise Bombito because she was once again under Bev Priestman trying to be played as that defensive midfielder, where she's definitely more of somebody who goes out and attacks. Exactly. But to your point, if you're playing with Jessie Fleming, it's Jessie Fleming who goes out and is creative. But maybe that's because if you're playing two in the midfield, now it's a little bit, the 4-3-3 can allow a little bit more of that flexibility for a player like that, right? Because remember, Moise Bombito they were trying to play him again in the midfield, obviously as a center back. Yeah.
Chemistry.
It is really huge. Yeah. Gabby Carl, this is another player who we had just heard from, and obviously the fresh start. She's not going to be in the starting 11 here. Shalina Zadorsky is going to get on in that back line, but we have also seen Gabby Carl kind of be more of that wing back on the left-hand side as well. Maybe the 4-3-3 doesn't make that as conducive. It'll be Ashley Lawrence as well, who will be playing there on the left. But how do you feel about Gabby Carl not being in the starting 11?
Again, to me, this is a question mark, along with the argument that you can make for Smith, where you want to see the players who are in form make the start. But maybe it's taking a step back from Cindy Ty's perspective, and you're looking at these two matches and you're thinking maybe she's somebody that I see starting in that second matchup against South Korea. Maybe that's the plan here. You're managing your minutes a little bit. But I think what this team struggled with against Spain was not only that intense pressure, but was the counter press and dealing with that and trying to play out of the back. And to me, Gabby Carl would be really well suited to do that. It's going to be a different game today where Canada is going to have the lion's share of possession. But when you get further up the field, you're progressing play either in the dribble or in the pass, and then getting key passes into the box. Gabby Carl, to me, is the person to do that. I think you have other personnel who can do a great job as well. But I think of all of those qualities that can bring Canada what they need to unlock a team that's likely going to sit in a low block, to me, she seems tailor-made to do that.
Shalina Zadorsky, though, this is a player who, was playing as a starting role in that center back position. And in fact, I remember speaking to Bev Priestman a couple years ago. She said it wasn't that Shalina Zadorsky did anything wrong. It was that the trajectory of Vanessa Gilles would just kept going up and up and up, which is why she had paired her with Buchanan. So to see Zadorsky back in this starting 11, surprise or not really a surprise? I
mean, I think it needs to happen just based off of the injury, right? She kind of always played backup and need to be ready. And I remember here, this is where you don't see many defenders back in a brace scoring 2 goals in a match against Costa Rica. She did in the Women's Gold Cup in February. But she has the quality, and Andy, I always love left-footed center backs playing on that left side, just the way that they can see the game and the angles and make diagonal passes and the way that they move. But this is an opportunity. Obviously, a huge loss in Buchanan with the ACL, and who has played on the left side, sometimes in the middle. But that is a spot that Zadorsky should own. I don't think there's another player that can come in and really take that for her, but she needs to go and show that she's ready for it, able to make those passes. But I think furthermore, lead. That position right now, when you have players like Jade Rose out, Buchanan out, you can't go in there and just hide and be timid. You have to say, look, this is my back line as well. I know what it's like to play here, and I'm going to be my best for my team and my country.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about Iceland here as we take a look at their starting 11, brought to you by GE. As mentioned, they are ranked 13th. What kind of test do you think they pose for the Canadians, Amy?
Well, this is a formidable opponent. This is not an opponent that they can take lightly. I think they're going to be physical. I think they're going to be pacey. I think immediately that center back duo of Zadorsky and Gilles will be tested. So can they develop that partnership there? I think Ada Zadorsky, I mean, there's nobody who's a better hype woman, but there's nobody better equipped, to Jordan's point, I think, to lead. So you have two stalwarts at the back there. They're going to be able to kind of insulate what's happening in the midfield with new faces in there. But Canada's going to have to be ready for that quick counter and ready for themselves to put their foot in the ball when it's required, but to speed up the game and to go quick when they can as well.
I just think this is a perfect contrast for Canada based on their performance against Spain. because they didn't have much of the ball and had to counter. And then today they're going to have to be the ones dictating the tempo. And it's difficult to do in matches, to really push, to really make those passes that you should make. When you have too much time, you tend to make the wrong decision. But I hope for Canada today, they have that tempo and they play the right way.
We just showed you those highlights where they came off the loss to the United States, but earlier they had beaten Germany as well by a score of 3-0. It was the first time that Germany had lost by more than 3 goals since 2008. So this is an Iceland team that can give you a ton of challenges here today. So this is a good matchup for the Canadians, as that's what we are getting you set up for, is Canada versus Iceland. And then they will have another game on Tuesday, December 3rd. That will be against South Korea. That's right at noon Eastern, right here on One Soccer. Kickoff is just around the corner here as you continue to watch Matchday live on One Soccer. It is Canada, Iceland. 2 more friendlies to go for the year 2024 for the Canadians, as they will then look to turn the page to the following year. Murcia, Spain is the home base for this camp. Stay with us.
CanadaSoccerStore.com is the official home for the widest range of Canada Soccer licensed product, match jerseys, and fanwear.
Canadian soccer fans, we're different. We cheer on the Reds while cheering out our motherlands and each other's lands. Soccer is in our hearts. Our roots are on display. Not to divide, but to unite. Because to us, soccer's more than just a game. It's who we are. From coast to coast to coast, it connects us all. Cheers to us. Cheers to the game.
I wanna run back to you. All I wanna do is run back to you and make my dreams come true. The only thing I ever do is run right back to you.
When the stakes are high, only the TELUS 5G network delivers.
What you doing up there, buddy?
Observing, helping. You could take note.
And the elf costume?
What about it? Need a nutcracker? Oh, this one goes to 11. Yeah. Fuzzy, they'll love it. Susan, that green really makes your eyes pop.
Need help with decorations?
It's a bit much.
Allstate and its 900 agents proudly support Canadian soccer at every level. Visit allstate.ca.
Gatorade, with electrolytes to help replenish what's lost in sweat, carbs to help fuel your working muscles, and fluids to help you hydrate. Scientifically formulated so you never stop competing.
I do this for my town, my time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
Rehydrate, replenish, refuel. Gatorade.
Who's driving?
Felix. Susantia!
Their safety is important, especially when you can't be there. It matters to you. It matters to us.
Welcome back. Matchday live here on One Soccer. Canada taking on Iceland. Here are some new team members to the national team. Janet Okeke, Megan Reid, Geneva Hernandez-Gray, Nia Rose, the sister of Jade Rose, who is not here due to injury. So a lot of new faces, a lot of faces that have just a couple caps under their belts as we welcome you back. Andy Petrillo, Jordan Wilson, Amy Walsh. So what is it in particular? I always say, Amy, I don't care what window it is, I want to win. It feels good. But when you have such new faces and maybe some young players or the inexperience, what realistically then is the goal, do you think, for this window?
I mean, I like the win too, Andy.
Yeah, win.
I'm not going to lie. And I really do think that with this group, despite the people who are missing, especially down the spine, when you think about Buchanan, how massive she's been lately, how great she was against Spain, you think even about Quinn playing deep in that midfield, you have to be careful. And I'm thinking about Cindy Tai now as she's balancing these two friendlies and trying to finish the year off strongly. You can't have too many moving pieces, especially as it pertains to your center backs, who's anchoring your midfield, who's going to be up top. So I think you go with tried and true there, and then you can intersperse, you can kind of inject the youth, you can inject the new faces. But I think if anything, that's what this window is for here. Like, what's the long game? It's the beginning of a new cycle. Get some new players in. Like Mimi Alidu, for a long time, she remained on the periphery, even though she was called and never really given a legitimate shot. So these players are in. Blood them. Let's see some minutes. Let's see them go out there and not just get like a token 5 at the end. Let's give them some significant minutes and see what they can do out there.
This has to be the time because this team doesn't have significant games or tournaments in the near future in the next few months. So this is a time to integrate. You don't want to go, to Amy's point, and put a bunch of teenagers and then try to figure out and see if they can keep up. You pick 1, 2, maybe get their moment to go and be in the atmosphere with that team to really see if they can do well. And with that situation as well, you want them to go and play and then have older players really just lean onto them so they can go and maybe play 8 out of 10 and they can start adding every time they get into the window. So this is what that opportunity is. These games, that's what it should be for.
Yeah, and speaking to Cindy Tai, she did admit that she had this pre-camp speech about everything going on off the pitch, but she also said the group, the leaders really taking over, and they genuinely love being together, and they understand the opportunity that's available to them to be together, but also integrate these young players. So here we go. It's Canada, it's Iceland, it's here on One Soccer. Kickoff is next. Stay with us.
Canada's women's national team on One Soccer is brought to you by Toyota.
Who's driving?
Felix. Susantia!
Their safety is important, especially when you can't be there. It matters to you. It matters to us.
This ultimate mouth-watering moment is brought to you by the big, bold, ultimate taste of Ultimate Chicken Hot Dogs, only from Maple Lodge Farms.
CanadaSoccerStore.com is the official home for the widest range of Canada Soccer licensed product, match jerseys, and fan wear.
What makes a Burnbrae egg a Burnbrae egg? For generations, we've put more goodness in, so you get a whole lot more out of every single delicious egg. A lot goes into a little at Burnbrae Farms.
Degree 72-hour non-stop protection. Antiperspirant with motion sense. Tested to the limit. Degree keeps working when others stop.
Let's go, Canada!
Access Storage, proud partner of Canada Soccer and the women's national team.
Live from southeastern Spain in San Pedro del Pinatar, an international friendly between world number 6 Canada and world number 13 Iceland. just the third ever meeting between these two nations for their women's national teams, and one last opportunity in this window to cast our eyes on Les Rouges in 2024. We'll have starting 11s after the national anthems.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise if you are able for the national anthem of Iceland. Please remain silent for the national anthem of Canada.
Well, after an autumn international window that saw Canada take on the defending World Cup champions and scrap to a 1-1 draw right here in Spain, they face more European opposition today